Hello chaps, Troy Francis here with another video. I am recording this, I'm back in London. I'm in the Wolseley, which is a world-class, world-famous restaurant, sort of brasserie type place, great for breakfast, lunches, dinners, everything. Very, very iconic venue in London, one of my favourite places, certainly when I am here. So I just got back from Poland yesterday. It was actually yesterday. It was meant to be the day before. My flight was delayed by 6 hours, just absolutely ridiculous. So it took me ages to get home and whatever. But anyway, fully rested and ready for action once again. And I just wanted to, I recorded something like this with James when I was in Poland, but I wanted to do my own version, and I'm not sure when the James cut is going to come out. So I wanted to just do some reflections on the boot camp itself. So for those of you who don't know, I am a dating coach primarily. I also write and make content, but I mean, my primary job is to help guys to improve their social skills so that they get better going out, meeting women, meeting the kind of women that they want, making those interactions work, and being charming and attractive and everything else. Okay, so we did a boot camp or a course, an extended course over 4 days in Warsaw, Poland, which, as I say, I've just returned from. And what were the overall observations? Well, for a start, Warsaw, great city, always been a favourite of mine, so little plug for that. But beyond that, I mean, the group of people we had, not an unusual group, to be fair. There was a couple of we have some sort of rolling clients who come to a lot of our things. So we had a couple of regular guys, and then the rest of the guys were either new or people that hadn't, maybe hadn't been to something before. Beginners, people with some experience but not really getting the results that they wanted. Overall, and I mean this with the greatest respect to everybody who was there, because it was a great bunch of guys. It really, really was. Great bunch of guys. Overall, I would say the biggest thing that I noticed, and I always notice this whenever we do any kind of these events, is a fundamental lack of drive in the guys to make things happen, okay? And when you think about it, you paid thousands of pounds effectively to come and work with myself and with James and with the other coaches. And the sole purpose really of being there for that 4 day period is to go out and practice your social skills, right? It's to go and talk to women and engage with them and get better at it, basically, and hopefully go on a few dates and everything else. And what's sometimes remarkable with the guy, and not everybody by any means, but what's remarkable is there's such a prevalence of guys who will make that leap, who will make that decision, and yet they'll come to the event and then they won't really approach, or maybe they'll do like, in a 2.5 hour session, they'll do like one approach or something like that. They'll go and talk to one woman, go outside and say, hey, listen, you look nice, and she'll say, thanks, I've got a boyfriend, and walk off, and that's it. And he's had 2.5 hours of time that he's paid for specifically to practice social skills, and he's wasted it, or at least he hasn't used it to anything like the extent to which he could have done. He may have benefited because he was walking around with a coach and there was another student there, and he might have observed some interactions and things like that, but he hasn't utilized it to its full extent. Now, we are coaches, right? So we will go around with clients and we'll say, look, there's somebody over there, she looks nice, why didn't you start a conversation, when you pay a compliment or whatever. But you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, okay? There's a limit. We're not going to physically force somebody to do something if they're reticent to do it, okay? That was a relatively extreme case, but in general, what we notice is that clients will not really step up to the plate and treat this with the urgency that it requires, which, again, seems incredible if you paid thousands of pounds to go to one of these things, that you wouldn't really give it your all. Even if, and the thing about practicing social skills, the thing about all this stuff is that it doesn't have to be forever, okay? It doesn't have to be, right, I'm going to start acting like this for the entire rest of my life and completely change my character. It doesn't have to be like that. All you're saying is, right, for the next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I'm going to, I'm going to step it up a bit. And then I can go back to my hotel room and curl up in a fetal ball and, and relax. This isn't meant as a diss at anybody, because look, all of this stuff is nerve-wracking. All of this stuff it takes it out of you, okay? On a fundamental level, it takes it out of you. Emotionally, physically, the adrenaline, all of that stuff. It's not easy, right? We talk about approach anxiety. Guys have approach anxiety. They find it difficult to approach women they find attractive. We've rehearsed many, many times why that is. There are primordial, evolutionary psychology reasons why that is. And it's a real thing. It is scary. Okay, I get it. However, the obstacle, as Mr. Ryan Holiday would say, is the way. The obstacle is the way. And the only way that you're going to get through this is by throwing yourself out there and getting into as many, social situations as you possibly can. That's the only way I did it. I was a complete social no-hoper, really, when I was a teenager and when I was in my early, very, very early 20s. I was a complete social no-hoper. I found it incredibly difficult to have conversations with people. I found it incredibly difficult to, certainly talk to women that I found attractive. And even if I did, I would find it impossible to move things forward in the right direction. Okay. The only reason that changed, and the only reason that I really kind of fundamentally changed it as a person over many years was, well, actually not that many years. It took me a fairly brief amount of time actually to change significantly. It took a few months, a couple of months at most. Um, what did take time was refining that process, and that went on for some years. But the only thing that ultimately that saved me was throwing myself into hundreds and thousands and even maybe tens of thousands now of very uncomfortable or relatively uncomfortable social situations that I didn't think I was ready for. Okay. And if you do that enough, then you get to the point where it's kind of like, well, what's the worst that could happen? It kind of gets to the point of like, well, you know, like, except in some bizarre extreme circumstances, it's not like anything bad's going to happen to you. The worst thing is you're going to get rejected or you're going to get shot down or something like that. So, and again, and we keep harping on about this recently, but it seems like a lot of these guys, they just don't have the fundamental drive. Because if you're going to do something that's quite difficult, like go and approach people that you don't know and talk to them and all of that, then you're going to need to have a very good reason for doing that. Now, in my case, the reason was basically, lust. It was like I wanted to date, I wanted to meet girls, I wanted to have a great time. Okay, and that reason was sufficient for me to push myself through the pain barrier and do what was necessary in order to get better at this stuff. If you haven't got that, then really logically why, you can see why these guys aren't putting themselves into the flames, because it's a hard thing to do already, and if you don't have a strong why, then it's incredibly difficult to motivate yourself. Okay, unless you do it as some kind of thought experiment, which is possible, which is absolutely possible, but not easy. Okay, so you've got to establish your why. You've got to figure out why you're doing this. And we talk a lot about the hormones. We talk about a lot about testosterone and things like this. And nobody's saying go on to TRT or any of that nonsense. If consult with a medical practitioner, talk to a doctor, whatever. But if you are somebody who's, say, in their early to mid 30s or even into your 40s, and you haven't had the dating life that you would have wanted, and you're still not really prepared to do what you need to do in order to make things happen, then there is a problem. Okay, there is a problem, right? There's a reason for that, and you need to uncover what that reason is. Now, it could be to do with the hormones. Okay, it could be that your testosterone is low, and so you don't have drive. It could be to do with depression. All right, and maybe those things are interlinked. I don't, you'd have to again speak to a professional. It could be to do with some form of shame around sex or sexual relationships. It could be some traumatic incidents that happened in the past. Maybe you were rejected or something bad happened or whatever. But if you're sitting there and you are like, right, I really want to get this handled, and then you're taking steps, including paying actual money to coaches to go and get it handled, and then you're kind of fumbling the ball, then obviously that's not good for anybody. It's not good for us because we want you to succeed. So you give us great testimonials, but we want you to succeed, okay? And it's not good for you because you're just not getting the full thing that you could have got from that experience. So if this is resonating with you, then I would encourage you to, drop me a DM. You can DM me on Twitter or on Instagram at RealTroyFrancis, or email me troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and include your WhatsApp details, and we can have a chat, because clearly, right, there is some disconnect between what you say that you want which is either a girlfriend or a prolific dating life or whatever, and what you're currently getting, which is nothing or very little, okay? There's a disconnect because you already know. And I mean, Tony Robbins, you know, one of the things Tony Robbins famously would talk about is taking massive action. You already know that in order to bridge this divide, you're going to need to take some action, right? So if you're not doing that and you're not doing that sufficiently, even when you're being pushed by coaches, then why is that, okay? That's something we need to get to the bottom of. That's what we need to look into. So as I say, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. DM me on my socials, include your WhatsApp details. We can have a call. We've got a few more events coming up this year for coaching, so get in touch and we can have a chat about that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. Give me a comment below. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.